At last, my shirt has come along. It took me long enough. Hey there, and welcome to the Totally Fierce Crochet channel. My name is Thomas, and welcome finally to my fitted crochet shirt tutorial. After quite a roller coaster ride, I actually finished the crochet shirt, my very first crochet shirt ever, and it took me forever, 2 months, 3 months, even longer. And after countless frogging sessions, my shirt is now officially done, and I think it looks super pretty, super beautiful. But I'm even more proud to now present to you the final piece, and of course to present to you all those little tweaks and tips that I used to make this shirt as fitted as possible, because some of you might know it, Raglan crochet shirts really have some serious fit issues, and as you could have seen in my previous video, if I follow along like all the other tutorials on YouTube, then it looked absolutely hideous on me. So I'm more than happy that I now cracked most of the issues probably, and I'm even happier to show you what I made and how I changed it. So in case you want to make yourself a Raglan crochet shirt, you know all the tricks and details to make it a little bit more fitted, especially for your body. So you want to see how it fits? Ta-da! Check out my new shirt. It's more fitted towards here. I mean, I don't have that huge clutter that I had before. The sleeves have the right size and they are straight and not angular and going upwards. And all I can say is that all of those minor adjustments and modifications that I did to the original Raglan pattern really made a huge difference, especially for my body type and my size, to get something that looks fitted and doesn't make me look like a hideous whale. So I'm really happy with this upper body shape. I think it looks quite good, and I don't look that fat. At least I hope so. As I always thought I would, wearing something like this, especially with such prominent colors. But I like the fit of it. I think it's appropriate for a guy as well. And the length is also good. You can't see it now. I haven't cleaned my apartment, so I can't put the camera down, just in case you were wondering. Overall, I really like how this shirt turned out. I'm actually not sure if I will ever wear it out in public, or who knows, maybe if I lose 20 pounds or something like that. But so far I like it. I like the style. I like the 3 colors that I have here, and it's all good. It's just like a lot of time to do such a huge piece for a huge guy like me. So I will most probably not do any more trials for wearables in the near future, in the next few months. But I did it. I'm super happy and proud of myself that I completed it. It's far from perfect and far from anything that you could buy in a store, but that's the charm of making your own wearables. Enough said, I will leave you now to the tutorial. I know it's a super long tutorial, I'm sorry for that, but as you know, I always love to explain things a bit more detailed so everyone can see it and get it. But feel free to use the chapters, and if you ever want to make yourself a crochet Raglan shirt and you experience the same troubles and difficulties that I had while I created this, you might find some solutions in this tutorial. So have fun, enjoy it, and I can't wait to be back with another smaller tutorial very soon. But first, let's go to the Raglan shirt tutorial now. And if you want to make yourself a crochet Raglan shirt, here's exactly what you need, or what I used to make it. First up, the yarn. I'm using the Hobby Happy Place Solid. It's the collaboration yarn from Hobby and TL Yarn Crafts. If you don't know TL Yarn Crafts, but I'm pretty sure everyone knows her, it's Tony. She has one of the best YouTube channels for crochet and especially also Tunisian crochet. I learned so many tips and tricks from her for Tunisian crochet. So definitely check her out and subscribe to her channel. The yarn itself is a 50% cotton and 50% wool. It's super soft and it comes in super nice colors. For my Raglan shirt, I'm going to use those 3 colors. And here in the back, it says the recommended hook size is a 5mm crochet hook. You can do it with a 5mm crochet hook, but I definitely want to have my Raglan shirt drapey and flowy and airy. That's why I'm sizing it up to a 5.5mm hook. But of course, use a hook that matches your yarn and then decide if you want to size it up. You can also make a little swatch just to see how dense the fabric will be. Then, of course, you would need some scissors, the yarn needle to sew in yarn ends, and what's very helpful for this tutorial are stitch markers, especially so we can determine where we will do our increases. These ones here were also from Hobby. So let's start the Raglan crochet shirt. What's important to understand is that the shirt is worked from the neckline downwards, so basically top down. If you ever hear someone say a top down design, so we are going to start right here at the neckline, and we will do this by making an I-cord that fits around your neck. Of course, you can make a chain, but since I don't really like chaining, I will definitely use the I-cord method, and for that I will do a I-cord in the length of my neck. And the measurement that I take for this first beginning I-cord is not up here at the top of the seam, it's more around here, so a little bit more comfy around my neck, because in general it's easier when it's a bit more loose, because it will go a little bit together once we made our first round of stitches. And of course, if you in the end have it too tight and can barely get your head through, and then also adding the seam or the ribbing in the end, it might be very uncomfortable. And I personally think if you make yourself crochet wearables, they should definitely be comfy and have a good fit. So make sure to measure it like right down here. If you're wearing a t-shirt right now with a seam, you can use the lower border of the seam, for example, as a reference. But let's just make an I-cord, and after that I will tell you how to divide this I-cord into something with 4 sides that we can then later on work our crochet pattern in, and where we can also determine where to place our increases. So for the I-cord, wrap the yarn around your neck 4 times until you have like a bigger amount of yarn to the side, and then we will start with a slip knot. And now we can start the I-cord, and the I-cord is the same as always. We take the yarn that we took to the side and wrap it around from the front, and then we take the yarn that goes to your yarn ball and wrap it around from the back, and then we take this last loop through the 2 loops on your hook, and this is exactly how you make an I-cord. So always the yarn from the side from the front, and the yarn that goes to your yarn skein from the back, and then pull it through. Now I have 3 I-cord elements, and I will just go along until it fits around my neck in a loose way. And here we go. Here's like the size of my neck in a very loose way, or normally loose way. And I have here 96 stitches. And now we get to determine where to place our increases for the Raglan pattern. And I will do this a little bit differently than most other creators who have Raglan shirt tutorials. They usually divide the stitch count by 6, and then you have like 2 smaller panels on the left and right, and you have 2 larger panels in the front and in the back. You can do it like this, but personally, I'm not really happy with how the end result will look like. I have an example, and if you do it with the divided by 6, you will get something like this. And personally, I think it's just too wide and too narrow on the sides, because if I do it like this and then put it around my neck, it will not go along my neck. It will like be all straight here in the front, and I personally don't think that's very flattering and also not very pretty and not very comfy, which is why I'm not doing it this way, mainly because I still think comfy is the most important. So I came up with my own way of doing it, and the way to do it is to divide the stitch count by 5, and if I do this with 96 stitches, I will end up getting 19.2. And for my crochet pattern that I'm going to use for this Raglan shirt, it will be important that all of our 4 sides will have an uneven amount of stitches. So I'm just going down from 19.2 to 19. So later on, when we do have our circle, let's say this is our I-cord, and in the end it's like this. We do have 4 sides, and the smaller sides, which are going to sit around the shoulders, are then going to be 19 on the left and on the right. And so the only thing now we have to determine is how big the larger panels will be, and 19 times 2 is 38, so we have 96 minus 38, and this is 58. And if we divide the 58 by 2, because we do have 2 panels, we get our larger front and back sides with 19 stitches, which is, of course, both of them are uneven. So we have 29 and 29. If in some case any of those 2 numbers are even numbers, just make the number +1 or -1, so that both of them are uneven. And for my Raglan shirt, I will then have 19 for the smaller panels and 29 for the larger panels, with 96 overall. And now we go back to our I-cord. And I will also get myself some stitch markers, because now we are going to start in the back of our I-cord, or where we started the I-cord, and this is where I will place my first stitch marker in, because this will be my very first stitch. And I'm going to start with a smaller panel, so I need 19 stitches for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 is right here. And in the stitch right after that, I will already place another stitch marker, because this is then the first stitch of one of the larger panels. So 29 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's right here. 29. Then again, in the next stitch, place another stitch marker, because now we have the next shorter panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 is right here. And in the stitch after that, the next. And let's see if everything was correct. This last side here would be 29 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is right here. And like that, we already determined how the raglan will then later on look. Here's how it is. And if you then also compare it with this super wide and narrow one, a bit like this, here you see what I don't like about the divided by 6 method. I just think it looks a bit weird and a bit off. And this is more roundish and plays along nicer with the body. But that's a personal thing. Make sure to just put this around your neck and check for yourself to see where the future lines will be. And all the parts where we had the 2 stitch markers are then also later on the places where we are going to put our increases in. But first, let's just finish this by closing our I-cord, and of course I will make sure that I'm not twisting it, although I'm quite a pro in twisting something like this. Here we go. And to close it, I will just go in my very first I-cord stitch. I will grab the yarn, yarn over, pull it through, and I will just start with a slip stitch to close it, and then we can start already with the pattern. The pattern is very simple. It's always 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet, and we end each of the panels always with another single crochet. This is why it was important to have an uneven number of stitches for each of the panel. So the first stitch is the single crochet, so we go into our same stitch where we were, where we placed the slip stitch, go in, yarn over, pull the yarn through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull it through. And after that we can start directly with our first double crochet. So yarn over, go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull it through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull it through. And after that it's again single crochet. So we are always going to repeat that throughout for each of the panels. And once we have this first short panel done, you will see how we also end with a single crochet. And as promised, our last stitch is going to be a single crochet. I will now take the stitch marker out, because later on we don't need them when we go on. And like that, the very first of my panels is done. And now we are going to make the space for the future increases. And for that, we simply chain 1. And if you want to, you can take the stitch marker again and put it right in there, so you always know where your chain 1 space is, because now we go directly to the next panel, and for that I'm taking this stitch marker out, and I will just start with a single crochet in the next stitch and then continue with the pattern. So single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, and so on. And in the end, we do the same with the following 3 corners. And for the last corner, I will then be back to show you how to close the round and to start again with the next round with the increases. And here we go. I'm one way around. There's just 1 stitch left. So I'm going to make my last single crochet in there. And now we can already close the round, and to close the round we do it with a single crochet in the top of our very first single crochet, and this will be the same way throughout this tutorial or throughout the whole project. So you go in the top of your single crochet from the start, yarn over, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull through 2, because that will put you like all in the center to then start decreasing and starting with the next round. And as I did it before, I will just take the stitch marker but first I will take the stitch marker and put it right where the space is from in between, so then we have the space to increase. And now we can start directly with the first real round of our pattern and the first increase as well. So whenever we have a corner space, we are going to make 1 single crochet, a chain 1 and 1 single crochet, and in between we just repeat our pattern, so always alternating single and double crochets. And whenever we had a single crochet in the previous round, we are going to make a double crochet on top, and where we had the double crochet in the previous round, we are going to make a single crochet on top. So super easy, super simple. But first let's increase. So we go in our corner space, grab the yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to place our first single crochet in here. And then up next we will have a single crochet from the previous round, so we are going to make a double crochet into it. And I will not do it in the top of the stitch of the previous single crochet. I will go down a little bit. Here you can see it a bit better. Here's like the V in between my fingers, and I will work into those single crochets as if I would do the waistcoat stitch, for example. So yarn over and go in between those V's and pull it through, and this is where I make my double crochet, mainly to keep all the stitches all straight and perfectly aligned. And then we had a double crochet in the previous round, and which means now we make a single crochet. And also for those, I make something a little bit different. You can just go through the top stitch like you would normally do it under both of the loops, but I will actually grab the third loop that sits right behind it. And again, this just helps to keep a bit more structure and later on keep all the stitches aligned. Then we have a double crochet in the previous single crochet. Here you can see the V shape, and I will just go in between and push it through and pull it up to make my double crochet. Then again a single crochet in the top of our double crochet, and like that we continue. And once you reach the stitch marker, you will know that you're in the corner. And in the corner, as I mentioned before, we will make 1 single crochet in that corner space, chain 1. You can then put the stitch marker back in. At some point you won't need the stitch markers, and then in the same space another single crochet, and then we are already at the next panel, and we are going to start with a double crochet over a single crochet, and here you have the perfect V shape. So yarn over, go in there, and after that it's again alternating all the way through. And I will meet you once I'm at the end of this round, so I can show you once more how to finish the round and then start the next round. And after that, you are pretty much good to go. And here we go, the end of the round. I will just take the stitch marker out and place my last single crochet. And then again, to close the round, we go in the top of our first single crochet, yarn over, pull it through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull it through. And then here's our next corner, and from there we can start our next increases. Here's how the neck part now looks. So for the increases, we are always going to increase on the sides, so each panel gets increased by 2 stitches. So in the end we are just growing, and like this you can continue all the way until it goes over your shoulder, and this is where I'm going to meet you back. Good luck for you and for myself. And let's just continue. I will just show you how to start the round again, because this is the same for all of the upcoming rounds. So you go back into the corner space, grab the yarn, pull it through, and place your first single crochet. And right here is the single crochet from the previous round. So you go in and yarn over, pull it through, and make the first double crochet on top of it. Here we had a double crochet in the previous round, so you just go in and do our pattern all the way, and we will continue like this until your piece goes slightly over the shoulder, about where the seam of a t-shirt would sit, and this is where I'll meet you back. Welcome back. So my piece is now the size that it goes slightly over my shoulder, just to show you where I am. So when I put my piece over my head, the piece itself goes right until here, where you would normally have the seam of a t-shirt. So it is a little bit like this, and I'm right here. And the reason why I stop here, because for all the other Raglan shirt tutorials, you would just continue all along. And what this does, maybe I show it here, because then in the end your piece would look a little bit like this, and then it would go down here for the sleeves, and here we would have like our Raglan seam. And if we would do it like this, you would get like gigantic long openings for the arms. And I personally think that something like this is so not flattering, because then in the end, when you would put your arm through it, you would have like so much space underneath it. I mean, for some people this might be nice or cute or whatever, but honestly, if you're not a super thin person, this can look very, very difficult. And I tried this and I just looked absolutely hideous, honestly. So I will definitely not do it like this. In the end, I will then like take the part where my shoulder ends and decrease on both sides, so that it will like follow along more of my body and my shape, and that I won't have like this long opening of a sleeve. And this is exactly why I wanted to meet you back right here, because then I can show you how you can decrease and also how you can then shape your individual raglan shirt. So if we take a look at our sides, here's the smaller side for the armhole. So now we can continue with the decreases, and we will always decrease it in the center of our sleeve panels, so the two smaller panels that we have. And for that, we would first have to determine where the center of this is. And we can do this, of course, easily by counting the stitches. We start here on both corners, and then we just go down stitch by stitch from the left and from the right. And here we go. This is our center stitch. I will just place a stitch marker in there so I know where I am. And then we can go from here and we go up, and then we are right here. Let's just add another stitch marker in there. And what's also important is that from now on we are going to decrease each of the rounds where we have 2 double crochets and a single crochet in the center, because those are easier to decrease. And whenever we have 2 single crochets and 1 double crochet, so right after this round, we will then do nothing at all and continue with our pattern. But every time when we have 2 double crochets around 1 single crochet, we will then decrease. And now, of course, we have to do this on the other sleeve side as well. And this is then where we do the decrease. And now I show you how to do the decrease. So first I'm doing the pattern as I did it before, right until I reach the stitch before our stitch marker. And here we go. I'm at the point to decrease, and the way how we decrease is basically 3 single crochets together. And this is also why it was important to have like 2 double crochets to the left and the right from the single crochet, because then it's a bit easier decreasing with the single crochet. And the way how to do that is we go into our first double crochet, yarn over, pull it through. Then we go into our single crochet, yarn over, pull it through, and then we go into our second double crochet, yarn over, pull it through. We now have 4 loops on the hook, and then you yarn over and then just crochet all of them together. And from there we can then just continue like we had it before with our pattern. And again, we are going to decrease in every third round whenever we have 2 double crochets and 1 single crochet in the middle for the entire sleeve. Of course, always make sure to put it over your head to see how it looks. And if you feel like the decreases are too much, just leave them out and always test it. It's personally, I think it's a bit tricky to tell everyone to do it a specific way, because we all have different bodies and different types. So it's definitely good to check yourself and to check your body to see how it would look. And we do this basically right until our longer panel, so this one here, like from this side to this side, is basically the width of, for example, a shirt that you might have. So let me just show you. If this would be like a regular t-shirt of yours, something basic like this, then it's basically the width here from the left to the right. That will also determine how wide your raglan shirt will be. So go pick one of your shirts that you like best in terms of fit, and then we continue working along in the round, including the decreases in the top or at the shoulder area. And we will do this not until we have the full width of the shirt. Mine is about 70 centimeters. We will do it until there's like 1 inch to the left and 1 inch to the right left. So about 2 to 3 centimeters. And once I have that, I will meet you again to close the sides and then work downwards or work on the sleeves and of course work on the neck. See you then. And here we go. My front side is now 66 centimeters, so it's around 4 centimeters shorter than the 70 centimeters, but I will leave it this way because if I would go back in another round, then it will most probably be like at 6.5, 6.4, so I'm going to keep it like that. And now we can start closing the round, and what's important is that we are now going to make a little bridge from this side to the other side so that we create later on the sleeve hole, and we will do the bridge with foundation stitches, and the length for the bridge is basically the amount of centimeters or inches that we're missing from the width of our piece. So after this round, always check if you reach the width of your t-shirt, for example, and if you are still not there, then just add more stitches in between. But now I will just show you how to add the bridge. So to make the bridge, we are first going to close the round, just like we did it before, with a single crochet in the top of the very first stitch. Then we go back into that space and start with a single crochet. So this is now our very first stitch of the next round. And now we continue with foundation stitches, and up next in our pattern is the double crochet. So yarn over, then go in the bottom stitch right here under both of the loops, yarn over and pull through 3 loops, then yarn over and pull through just 1, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2 to have a foundation double crochet. After that, we are going to continue with a foundation single crochet. So you go again in the bottom stitch. This can be a little bit fiddly for now to get it. Here we go. And then pull the yarn through, then yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over and pull through 2. And if you want to, you can always hold the stitch a little bit down, because now we are going to make a double crochet foundation stitch. So yarn over and then go in the bottom stitch, pull it through, yarn over, pull through just 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And now we can already close it by making a foundation single crochet in the chain 1 space on the other side of our sleeve. So this is going to be a little bit different. So we go in the bottom stitch again, if we can get it. I think I have it. And then we also go right into that space, yarn over, first pull through that space, then pull through the bottom 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through both of them. So we have a single crochet here on the other side, just like we had the single crochet up here. And then we can just continue with our pattern. And of course, we have to do the same thing for the other sleeve hole. And I will meet you once I'm back here, because then we are just going to make one additional round, and then is one of the best moments to try on the shirt to see how it fits. But of course, let's just go around and then I'll show you how to close the round, because from now on the closing of the round will be a little bit different, but I'll show you once I'm there. And here we go, I'm at the end. I placed a double crochet into the first single crochet that we made here. And now I'm going to go right in the middle here where we had the single crochet in between the double crochets, and I will just slip stitch my way through it, because I want the seam to be in the middle. And here we go. And here in this V, we will do our very first stitch, and since this was a single crochet, we are going to make a double crochet. And since this is the beginning of the round, it will be a fake double crochet. So we go in, make a single crochet first, and then yarn over, pull it through. And this is then our beginning. I know this is all a bit tricky. And of course, you can always do just a chain and then work yourself through the chains. This is more a visual thing, because I think it's easier later on when the starting of a round is directly at the center of the side. But again, this is absolutely optional. And then we go in the next stitch, make a single crochet, and then a double crochet, single crochet, and double, and just like that our pattern continues seamlessly. So I will go to the next bridge and then show you how to crochet over that, and then I will end up here where the stitch marker is, and then I will show you how to make the invisible transition, which we will be using for the sleeves as well, and all the way down our piece. And I'll meet you when I'm there. So I'm on the other side. Here I made the single crochet on top of the double crochet. Then here on this side we are also going to see the stitches a little bit better. So we can make the double crochet, then the single crochet. And even though making it with foundation stitches is a little bit more fiddly and a little bit more tricky, I still think in the end it helps the overall piece to look as continuous and seamless as possible. And here's the V. And then again, single crochet. Luckily it all worked out. And I'll meet you for the invisible transition. And here we are. I just had my last double crochet, and here the round we started with the fake double crochet, so that means right before we will end this round with a single crochet, and then here we would have to do a double crochet and then here a single crochet, so that everything works up. So we are going in the next stitch and make a single crochet, then after that a double crochet. You won't see any V stitches, maybe here, but not really. So you just go in and make a double crochet, and then the last stitch is going to be a single crochet, and then we can connect it with the invisible transition, and this goes as follows, and this I will do on all the 2 sleeves and the body part going downwards from now on. So I'm going in the top of my first stitch of the round, and then I will just pull the yarn through. Now I will release the hook. I will go 1 stitch further, and then I will take my first loop and put it over my hook, pull it through, pull everything nice and tight, and then I will release the loop, grab my front loop, pull that through until I have 2 loops on my hook, and then yarn over and pull through, and like that my very first stitch of the round is already there, and it's a single crochet. So after that we make the double crochet in the next stitch, and so on. I will just show it again just so you see it. Now I destroyed my single crochet, but that's okay. So the last stitch was a single crochet, and then I go in the top of my first stitch of the round, yarn over, pull it through. Now I release the hook, then I go 1 stitch further, push that front loop down, take the other one, pull it over the hook and pull it through, and now make sure to drag on that front loop to close the loop over your hook. Release the hook, grab the front loop, grab the second loop, drag on the yarn to pull it tight, yarn over and pull through, and you have the first stitch of the round, a single crochet in that case. If this would be like every second round with a double crochet, then you just go in the front loop and make a fake double crochet. If it's a single crochet starting round, then this is how to start it. You don't really have to place a stitch marker here, because you will always see that this stitch is a little bit higher, and from there we can just continue all along. You now have the opportunity to go downwards on your shirt, or stop it right here and start working on the sleeves and the neck part. So whatever you decide. And for myself, I am just going to stop right here with my last single crochet. I will then place the stitch marker in here so I know where the loop was. And then I will cut the yarn. And up next, we are going to take care of the sleeves. This will be tricky, I can tell you already. Let's continue with the sleeves, and I'm going to be super honest with you. The sleeves are probably the most difficult part of this Raglan shirt. You might have seen my previous video where I showed you the issues that I had, especially with the sleeves, and unfortunately we always have 2 sleeves, so we have to do it twice. But Don't worry, I am going to guide you through everything and discuss with you all the issues that could happen when you make your own raglan shirt. The main problem I had with the sleeves is that they can easily turn super big and super unfitted. And as a guy, I don't really love to have like very flowy open sleeves. So of course I prefer them a little bit more fitted, just like with a shirt or like a polo shirt. So when I had my first few sleeves done, I was never happy. And due to the raglan structure, it can happen that especially around here, like in the lower front left and right of the sleeve, it gets a little bit bulky and doesn't look flattering at all, in my opinion. But I think I have found a few solutions to fix that. This is also why I have some stitch markers already placed in there, because I mean, let's be honest, it wouldn't be responsible to just tell you do it exactly like this and then it works, because I'm pretty sure it won't. So this is really a little bit of try and error for you as well, to work a few rounds and then put it on, see how it fits, and if you feel like the fit is all right for you, then just continue. If not, I'm going to give you like the solutions or the ideas that I have to get like really nice fitted sleeves for your shirt. So my stitch markers here represent decreases that I'm going to do. So basically the same way like we did it here at the top for the shoulder area, I'm going to place decreases. 2 regular decreases here on the sides and 2 decreases here on those corners, because when you put that together with the holes from the original square that we went from the neckline down, you tend to get like these pretty big holes right here, and that's why I'm going to bring everything a little bit more inside to reduce like all the possible clutter that you might have. And we will only do those decreases in the very first round, so we are going to set a foundation. If you don't want to do decreases and you want to try it without, just ignore all the decrease part and we make one round across. And after that, I'm going to like just go up with the sleeve, and I will continue doing my decreases in the top part in every third row. In terms of placing the stitch markers, I always place them like I had them here. 2 double crochets to the sides and 1 single crochet on the inside. This is where my stitch marker is. And then I know that I can, in the next round, have like a 3 single crochets together. But I will just show you this round completely so you get a better idea of what that means. So first up, I'm going to grab some yarn and make a slip knot. And then I will go right here in the center. It should start with a single crochet. If it looks a little bit messy, just like I have it here, so here was a double crochet, so I'm going to place now a single crochet on top of it, and I will just go in with a single crochet, and I'm also going to take my yarn and over my work to incorporate it. And here we go. Here's my first stitch. The second stitch after that would be a double crochet, and right here the V is a little bit offset due to the foundation stitches, but don't worry at all. I am just going to go in there and make a double crochet, and make sure to keep everything a little bit tight. And after that, we have a single crochet. I'm just trying to get that third loop. This really is like a bit tricky with the foundation stitches, and now I'm right here. I'm going to take my stitch marker out, and now I will do basically 2 double crochets together within this space before right here we are going back to a single crochet. And again, I'm just trying to find a spot. I'm probably also going down here just so that I can reduce this clutter, and because I don't really see the stitches very well, so I'm just going in, and now I have 3 loops. I'm going to show it again. We are going to take our time. People may complain all the time that I explain too much, but it's better to explain a little bit longer. So we are going to make 2 double crochets in this messy space right here. So yarn over. I am now going to pick one of the loops down here just to close that gap that I have, and then yarn over, pull it through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 and hold it. And then we go right here to the next. Maybe I'm going in here, yarn over, go in, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3, so that we only have 1 stitch left. And I think the holes are a little bit better. Here's still a bigger hole right here, which I'm going to take care in the very end, where I show you how you can reduce those bigger holes that are too visible, but this we will do once everything is done. And then we come here to the other side to make a single crochet in the top of a double crochet. So we are now back on track basically. And then here's the next double crochet, so we can continue now with our regular pattern. And here's the first decrease that I do. So I'm going to make 3 single crochets together like we had it in the shoulder part, like that. Then after that, as always, the double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, and then we have the next decrease here on the side. So I'm going to grab those next 3 stitches and make a single crochet, and like that I go around. I don't think there will be a decrease up here, and then I will show you the decreases once more on the other side. My shirt is going to fall down, so I'll meet you when I'm back here and then close the round, and then we can continue. And here we go, the next decrease here on the other side. Again, in the first stitch, in the second stitch, and in the third. And then yarn over and pull through all 4 of them. Continue with the pattern. And the next. Sorry. And then we come to that corner. So yarn over here, at least we have a pretty nice stitch to go in, and don't finish the double crochet. And now we have to find a good spot somewhere on the other side, probably here, and then have it like this. And then we have a single crochet after that, and right here it's really a bit tricky with the back side of those foundation stitches, but if all things fail, always put it somewhere in there. And then we do it like I showed it before with the invisible transition. So you go into the first stitch, which was a single crochet, pull the yarn through, go in the top, loop over the hook, pull everything tight, and we are going to start with a double crochet, or a fake double crochet to be correct, to start our next round. And now we are just adding rounds for the size of our sleeve, so you can make the sleeve as long as you want to, and I will always decrease up here in every third round, or whenever I have 2 double crochets next to a single crochet, and we continue until you have the size of your sleeve. And this is where I'll meet you, because then the really fun and tricky stuff starts. So here we go. This is the length that I'm going to make for my sleeve. And as I mentioned before, you make your sleeve as long as you like your sleeve to be. I'm always fine with a shorter sleeve, and of course I'm going to add a little ribbing. This as well is completely optional. You can add whatever ribbing you like. You can just make a round of single crochets all along, or make a typical crochet ribbing. I'm going to later on switch to Knooking, just in case I haven't mentioned it yet. But if you now put the shirt on, you will realize that the side or the border of the sleeve is tilted. So this is something very important. If you like it in a tilted way, then it's fine. But I will show you what that means. I'm going to just take my little drawing. So when we are now right here, and now when you put the shirt on, the sleeve is a little bit like this. It stops right here instead of going all the way down here. So this really is what I think a personal thing. I mean, as a guy, of course, I don't want to have like the sleeves being like this, because then on the other side it will also be like this. And I personally think this is a bit more feminine and it's not my style. So if you are a little bit like me, who wants to have like a more straight ending of the sleeve, I came up with an idea how to fill this kind of a space, because if we continue now, it will always be a little bit tilted. If you do a long sleeve, it wouldn't be that visible because of the stretching of the fabric. But for a short sleeve, we definitely have to fill in this gap between where we are now to where we want to be. And then after that, I'm going to add the ribbing. So now what I'm going to show you is how you can fill up that blank space in between here. It's a little extra effort and it involves some cutting and sewing in on the go, but the result is going to look so much better on you than these kinds of angular or tilted edges that you would normally get. So to do that, I'm going to take my stitch marker from up here, because I won't continue with the decreases up here, and I will just secure my loop down here, because now I'm going to take a second piece of yarn. So I will leave this wherever it is. It's like a little bit all tangled up here. I will leave this to the side for now, and we will now start filling the gap, and we will do so by just adding rounds, not all the way through, like the first one from here, the second one from here, the third one from here, and then on the other side as well, so that we can like open it up or continue it only on this outer side and not on the inner side. If you do have a separate skein of the yarn, or maybe even some longer yarn ends, you can use them. If not, it's also okay to cut the yarn right now and attach it somewhere else. We cannot just turn the piece and then do the next step, because this pattern, like it is now, only works when you work it in the round. If I would now work from inside out, the pattern will definitely look different. And of course, this is something that I don't really want. So our little extra step for a straight edge goes like this. We first make a slip knot, and here's our first stitch, here will be the second, and when we have our very first double crochet right here, I'm going in there from the top, and I will take my yarn over, and I will also take my yarn end with me. The yarn end in the beginning we are going to incorporate on the go, and then we pull that through and make a single crochet first, and then we basically do our pattern all the way. And once we are almost at the end, we will stop basically exactly on the other side. So here's the double crochet, and I'm going to place a single crochet on top of it. Here you can see it's the same distance. Yarn over, cut the yarn, pull it through. Now I'm going to take my yarn needle, and then I will go in this next stitch from the front, and then turn it, and now I will just go along through those stitches in the back, or on the inside basically, just a few of them like that, and then pull that in and go a few stitches backwards, and then just cut it. So we don't have to worry about the yarn ends, because this is basically how we continue. So we go back to the beginning, grab the yarn, slip knot, and then we see where we were. So here was the single, here was the double, single. So we are always going in the top of the second double crochet, and then connect the slip knot by making a single crochet on top of it, and then again continuing with our pattern. And of course we are also going to stop in full symmetry here on the other side. And like that we can easily continue our pattern, even though we are not going all the way around. So later on the overall look of the sleeve will be absolutely cohesive, and I think this works super well, and you will be surprised how beautiful the clean straight edge looks in the end. But let's just go to the end, and I will show you again how to reattach and finish, and then you basically go along until there's no stitches left to make. And here we go, 4 stitches before the end. Our last stitch is then again a single crochet yarn over, cut it, pull it through, take the yarn needle, and work the yarn end in. And now you know what's coming. Going back to the start, grab the yarn, slip knot, and it gets smaller and smaller, so no worries. So 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch, which is the top of a double crochet, and like that we continue all the way until there's just like a tiny little part left, and then we can finish the sleeve because then it is all straight, and we can do the nooking if you want to. See you in a bit. And here we go. As you can see, this part now here has been added to our piece to give us a straight edge, and now we can go back to where we left our initial round. If you have kept it like I had it, then just go back into the loop or just reattach the yarn, and now is going to be very easy because now we are going to flat out those stairs that we have here. And this we do pretty easily by making single crochets into each of the stitches across, and I'll meet you at the end because then you will see how easy it is to like get rid of the stairs. And when you then put your shirt on, you will get a super pretty straight border that you can leave as if, or that you can leave as is. That's absolutely fine. Or you join me for a little round of nooking. So this was it, and now I'm going to start with nooking. So I'm going to take first my nooking hook. If you're interested in nooking, make sure to check out my videos. I'm going to pop it in up here or there. The first video is going to be like how to knit with a hook, with this nooking hook, where you can get like a little bit of an overview about nooking. And there's also a nooking 101 playlist on my channel where you have different episodes about nooking, from cast on to cast off to different stitches. And now I'm going to add a ribbing to my sleeve, and this kind of a ribbing, I will do the same ribbing of course for the second sleeve, but also for the neckline, and then later on along the waist at the end of my shirt. So I will only show it once, and of course I will give you like a little bit of an overview of nooking. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend you to do it because it's really fun, and it gives pieces like this a pretty refined finish. And in my case, I will also add another color. I told you in the beginning that I'm going to make my shirt multicolor. And first we are going to close the round, but instead of like pulling the first yarn through, I'm going to go in here and just pull my new color through. If you are not changing the color like I do, then of course you can just close the round as you had it before. Here we go. And then of course closing it, putting first my yellowy loop on there. And as you can see, I also chose a smaller Knooking hook. The reason is quite easy. They are very limited in terms of size, and with this kind of a yarn for crochet, the bigger hook was absolutely appropriate. But if I would use a 5mm or 6mm Knooking hook, it will be like very, very open, very messy, and wouldn't look nice. So I tried it with the 4mm, and with that it looks quite nice. And then I'm going back in and I'm going to pull on both yarns. I'm going to leave the yarn ends behind. I'm going to just now focus on the new yarn color and close everything, because now of course we have to start with our cast on. So I'm going to pull all those ends tight. And now what I'm going to do for the cast on, I'm going to cast on stitches in every stitch, and in the first and every third stitch or every second stitch I'm going to pull through 2 loops actually. So I'm going back now in this same stitch. This will definitely be super tight, but I know you can do it. So yarning over and pulling the yarn through once more, and then I'm going to yarn over and basically slip stitch. So now I have 2 loops in the same stitch, and then we go in the next stitch and pull up the loop and yarn over and pull it through, and here's like just a single loop pulled through, and in the next stitch will be again a double loop. So go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull it through, go back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull it through, and slip stitch. So always 2 loops, 1 loop, 2 loop, 1 loop. In the end we should end up with just a single loop, and this is absolutely fine, because this kind of a sequence also helps us in the pattern that I'm going to make, because I'm going to make a 2x1 ribbing. So I will just continue. The next stitch is 1 loop and yarn over and pull through. Then we have a double one, and we continue this all the way. And then I will show you quickly how to make knit and purl stitches, because that's all you need to know. And it's just a very small number of rounds that we are going to do. But again, feel free to use any kind of finishing for your sleeves, or leave them as they are, or make another round of single crochets. This is really up to your personal style. And of course, always try nooking if you want to. Now I have casted on all of my stitches. They are now all either on the hook or on my helper yarn. And I'm going to pull the hook through, so I can start with the first round. And I'm also going to put like the yarn ends that I still have here to the inside. I'm going to just sew them in later, because otherwise with the helper yarn this might get a little bit difficult. And we can start. So basically we are knitting right now. If you want to knit the ribbing, feel free to do so. So whenever we had 2 stitches into one, I'm going to make knit stitches, and whenever I had just 1 stitch, I'm going to make a purl stitch. And this is the repeat that I will do all the way through, and for 6 rounds in total. And it goes like this. So yarn over and just pull it through, then go into the next loop, yarn over, pull it through, then they take the yarn to the front, grab the next loop from the side, yarn under and pull it through to make a purl stitch. You can always identify the purl stitches by this little bump or knot here in the front. And then we take the yarn to the back again, and we just knit stitch the next 2 stitches. So in the loop, yarn over and just pull it through. Then again, yarn to the front, grab the next loop, yarn under, and pull it through to make a purl stitch. Then again, yarn to the back, 2 knit stitches, and yarn to the front, grab the yarn from the side, twist the hook upwards, yarn under, and pull it through. And that's all for the repeat. Again, we do this for 6 rounds in total, and then there's just the bind off round missing, and then, believe it or not, the fitted sleeves are done, and I'll see you for the bind off. Have fun nooking! I hope some of you are joining me and combining crochet and nooking, because you can combine them perfectly together. So have fun. See you in a bit. And here's how it looks after 6 rounds. I think it's absolutely pretty. And we can now start binding off. And this goes pretty easy, especially for crocheters. So we pick up the first loop, yarn over, and make a knit stitch. And then we go into the next 2 loops, basically, because we are going to nook those 2 together. Then yarn over, pull through both of them, and then yarn over again, just like with a single crochet, and we nook those 2 together. Then we have the next knit stitch, just pull it through, then yarn over and pull through 2. So we are always going to pull through 2 in the end, and whenever we have a knit stitch and then a purl stitch, we are going to nook both of them together, yarn over, pull it through, and yarn over and pull through the 2 loops to get like this kind of a bind off, which is going to be a little bit more flexible than the other nooking bind offs, and I think it works super nice with this piece and this ribbing. And I will do this all the way, and then we are going to make an invisible finish, and then the first sleeve is done. And when you're at the end, you can then just take out the helper yarn and then yarn over, cut the yarn, pull it through, and then take the yarn needle for the invisible finish. And then we are not going in the very first loop right here, we are going in the next one, and then we are just pulling it through until they all line up, and then go back into the stitch. Make sure to check the length, and then I'm going back here, and I will just wrap it around on the inside, and I will just go down all the way. and a few stitches back, as always. And here we go. And just like that, the sleeve is complete. I think it looks super nice. And now, of course, you have to make the second sleeve. And of course, once you have the sleeves, then you would also have to make the neckline. So for the neck part, we will have to decide which one is the front and which is the back, mainly because, again, I'm doing things a little bit differently. If you're familiar with, if you think about t-shirts, the back side is always a little bit longer than the front side to give enough space for the neck. So this is something that I want to have in my Raglan shirt as well. And this is why I'm going to make the back part a little bit higher by making double crochets and the front part a little bit lower with just single crochets, and the sides I will make with half double crochets. In addition, I will crochet the two sides, or the four sides together, so that this rectangular shape gets round again. But of course, I'm going to show you step by step. So first up, decide which side is your front and which one will be your back side of the shirt. And once you have that, and once I have untangled the yarn, then we can start. And I will start right here somewhere in the center. I'm not counting where I am. I will just make a slip knot, and then I will just go into one of those stitches here in the back, and then I will first make a single crochet to connect it. And of course, I will also try to keep the yarn end with me, and then I go into the front bar, yarn over, I pull it through and make a double crochet, and then we go along, because this is going to be the back side, so this will be all double crochets. And here we go. Now we have basically the corner stitch here, and we have one before and one after that, and we are going to make 3 double crochets together. So you yarn over, you go in the first stitch, yarn over, pull through and hold it, then yarn over, go in the middle stitch, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through, and in the last one right after that. And now we have 5 loops on our hook, and now we are going to pull through all 5 of them to bring it together. And like that, we are on the sides. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to make half double crochets. So you go in the next stitch, yarn over, and pull through all 3 of those loops all the way until we reach the next corner. And of course, if you still find a stitch marker somewhere, you can now remove it. And here we go, our next corner, and I also have the yarn end from the beginning, so I'm going to leave this other yarn end now behind, and then we go in the next stitch, because now we are going to decrease again, and here we are just going through 2, and here in the next stitch and through all of them to decrease it until it looks a bit like this. And after that we continue with single crochets all along until we reach the next corner, and then again we decrease. When you're too much into yarning over, then out of the sudden it's a bit tricky to make single crochets. So once we are in the next corner, I made it again. Once we are in the next corner, then we do the exact same thing. We crochet 3 together, and here we go, the next 3, and yarn over, pull it through, pull through 1 into the next stitch, and the next one, where is it? Right here, and then pull through all of them, and then we are at the side again. And here we go, 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3, all together. And then now all we have to do is to go back to where we started with double crochets. And here we go. In the last stitch we make a slip stitch to close it, and like that I will just secure the stitch, because now I can show you we created a little line, and we made the back part a little bit higher than the front part. It's still very much a bit boxy, but once we now also made the ribbing, then it will definitely be more round. And this is my next step, so I will do another nooked ribbing for my neckline. It works the exact same way, so I'm just going to cast on the stitches and do a 2x1 ribbing. So my neckline is done. I will now take my helper yarn out, if it lets me. Here we go. And let's see where this last stitch is, because I just closed it. I think it's even here. Yes. So again, I'm doing the invisible finish, but maybe I will just go back into this stitch right here, because this looks a little bit messy. Yarn over, pull it through, grab the yarn needle, And as we did it before, the invisible finish, you can always lay it on top of it. Here's this one, here's that, so I'm going into this next stitch and then back in, and I will also go in the top of this previous stitch right here just to lock everything together. And like that, the neckline is done. And we can then basically, after the sleeves and the neckline, continue working our way downwards of this shirt until you have the length that you like, and then I'm going to finish it off in the bottom. But until then, I will most probably take a few days to work myself down and also changing the colors. Have fun! Happy crocheting! So, good news, I made it all the way down my Raglan shirt, and here's the color pattern that I chose, so I could incorporate all the colors that I had. And for the ending of my shirt, I didn't even bother to do another nuked ribbing. I just made it as a regular end of the crochet work just by making single crochets all along. And I think that's equally pretty. And this is what I meant, instead of doing the nuked ribbing, for example, like I did it on the sleeves and on the neckline, you can always just do a simple bind off and it always looks nice and clean. But that's really a personal thing. And since I love to wear my shirts like in a more loose way down the bottom, then this will absolutely work better. And now to finish off the piece, I already mentioned it. If at some point you feel like there are some bigger holes, like you see it here, or maybe also here in the sleeve area where we had like all those foundation stitches, you can always try to fix those bigger holes afterwards. And I will just give you a quick idea how you can do that. For that, it makes sense to take the shirt inside out. And then let's just see, where was it? Here, for example, this one here is a little bit big. Or let's see, here in the armpit area, there's one hole right here, for example, that I don't really like. Maybe we start with this. So you just take a piece of the yarn, just like a smaller piece like this, and then you take it on the yarn needle. And what I usually do is that I would go along the stitches somewhere here. Of course I lost the yarn. And sorry for the noises, there's like a big rainstorm outside. And then I will just go from the other side and connect them back. And then by dragging on it, I can then simulate sort of a closing of this area. And then I will just go through some of the stitches until I'm basically back at the beginning. Let's see, we can go down here. And like that, the nasty hole is done. I will then secure it with a little double knot. And then I will just take the yarn end and pull it through some of the stitches on the sides. And a few stitches back. And then just cut the first one. And then let's just take the other one. This one is a bit small now. But let's just pull that in. And whenever you have like a little bulk of yarn, like I had it here, that's a great place to store the yarn end in. And for this small one, I will just, I mean, I already fixed it with the double knot. So this should do it. And then, for example, here's the same thing. I mean, this is like a bigger area, but then again, just take a piece of yarn and just go along a few stitches. I'm going to start here in this bulk. And like that, it's a bit more closed than it was before. But again, you don't have to do it everywhere. The yarn itself will still move a little bit, but at some point where you feel like it doesn't look nice, then you can always reduce the hole a little bit. I will just fix 1 or 2 more holes, and then it's time to wear my finished Raglan shirt. So how do you like all my little tips and tricks to get this shirt a bit more fitted? I hope they are helpful for you, and try it. It's always good to try something new, and personally I'm just happy to now be over with it and then continue with my other projects that I shifted in front of myself until there's like a big mountain of things I want to do. But anyway, I pulled through it, I made it, I'm proud of myself, and I hope you like the end result. Tell me in the comments how you think that I look, and be honest, if you think I'm hideous, then tell me. It's all good. I might even also block the shirt just to like give it a bit more shape because it's quite warm. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for following me through this nightmare of a crochet project with so many frogging sessions and starting all over again. And I really hope to see you back again next time, only at the Totally Fierce Crochet channel, definitely not with a wearable. Bye. And now I have to get out of this shirt because I'm sweating like a pig, like a very yellow, peachy, orangey, red pig. And this should have been like a summer crochet shirt, but I think it's more appropriate for autumn and fall, and maybe even winter, like Arctica, maybe. Bye.